A couple of weeks ago on stream, I played a match against Russian Grandmaster Alexandra Kosteniuk, who was the 12th Women's World Champion from 2008 to 2010, and she actually competed for the World Championship when she was just 17 years old. Hikaru Nakamura and Anna Rudolph did the commentary, and in this match, I'm going to put it all together, take you through the story, through the score, and the ups and downs and little bits of the commentary as well. So here we go. The first game of the match was won very convincingly by Alexandra. We're actually not even going to look at it because I'm embarrassed. Now, we're going to kick things off with the second game, and we're going to be looking at it from my perspective, so the board will be flipping with white and with black. Alexandra began with knight f3, I played f5, and this leads to a Dutch defense. The opening, not the most important thing in the world, and we get to this position. She plays the move c4, I respond with d6. This is known as the Dutch, and this is known as the Leningrad chapter of the Dutch. Alexandra plays knight c3, I go queen e8. This is one of the considered main lines of the position, where I'm trying to play queen e8 and then play the move e5. So after d5, a5, the square that we're fighting for with these two moves is c5. I'm going to jump my knight out from a6 to c5, which is exactly what I do, and she's trying to expand on the queen side. As she's doing this, she makes a big decision here, allows me to take on passant, but what this does is it splits her pawns. And after a little bit of maneuvering, I was able to get that central pawn break that I was looking for. She did advance a little bit and made a trade after knight b5. I held it all together here on c7, and then finally got to play my move e5. One thing that was not working for me throughout this match is that whenever I had decent positions, she was so much faster than me, and that could be experience, that could be nerves, and I'm going to show you how well she navigated positions where it might have not been in her favor, or positions that she was finding just the cleanest kill anytime she had a better position than me. You'll notice that once I finally play the move d4, I am significantly better here with my two bishops, my knight camping on the edge of the board, and I'm just going to crack on through the center. And at this point, I found a really nice idea here. You can pause and try to look for it. One of white's pieces is totally offside and is actually trapped. See if you can find the move. I'll give you a few seconds. I played the move queen to b8, and I realized that she's just got nowhere to go with this knight. She's got a sacrifice in the center of the board, picking up two pawns, but I brought my bishop back. Now, when you are down on time in a blitz game, things are important. Time management and counterattacking and turning the game into chaos. How do you turn the game into chaos? Well, you gotta go after the pieces that defend the king. At this point, Alexandra does just that. She avoids the trade of the queens on the b file, and the second that I brought my knight back, she immediately went to hit my bishop on g7. Now here, in a low time state, I wasn't able to absorb this pressure. I was thinking, I can't take, and I really don't like the fact that my king is gonna come out, and, well, here, disaster struck.
Oh my god.
5 seconds.
Come on, move. Levy,
There's only
let's
1
go.
second increment. Move.
Oh my god.
It's a blunder.
Rook d7 was winning. What was rook d4? Rook d7. What? Rook a4. Oh my.
So obviously, as you can see from the clip, I put my knight out to a4, but this allowed, first of all, rook d7, and that is why preemptively I was even thinking to put my rook just to cover the infiltration. But even with that, I got so low on time and just left my knight hanging, and she was able to pick things up and convert very easily. So she started out with a 2-0 lead. Now at this point, you know, as Hikaru called it, he needed me to get out of the zero. He needed me to get out of the toilet seat, and so for the next game, I went for a London. Alexandra's a player that always looks for imbalance. She's looking for complex position. Look at this. She immediately goes for my bishop. I said, let her take it. I'm going to develop, and I'm going to put all my pawns on dark squares. I immediately advance with h4, h5, because I don't want her to castle on that side of the board. Flank pawn pushes like this to target the opponent's king, and I couldn't tell if bishop h6 was a mouse slip or what happened in the opening, but here I made a big decision. I've got a big decision to make. Which way am I going to castle? I was thinking. My logic was that she's going to go this way. If she's going to choose, she's going to go this way. Oh, this way. Why? Because this way's already, I got f5, I got g4. So that's why I decided to actually castle short. Because I figured she wasn't going to castle her king this way, she's going to go that way, and I wanted to create a fight. I wanted to look for some sort of way to make the position complex. Now, she goes c5, so I'm thinking in my head, she's a couple of moves away from castling. What do you do to a player that's a couple of moves away from castling? You don't worry about this. You gotta go for the weakened light squares near the king, so I played the move knight to g5, and she played queen c7, and I was like, wait a minute. wouldn't this fork be really nice of queen and bishop?
Will he play it? Will he find
He's
it?
gotta
Bishop takes
do it.
g6?
He's got to take g6.
Will he find it? Yes!
Pawn is covering. Bishop takes g6, dynamite strikes. Now in this position, she goes queen c8, letting me take. You would think, oh, she's got this. And actually during the game, that's what I thought. I thought I take on g7, she goes here, but I have the very nice move d5 in this position. And I had noticed this in my calculation here, because if she takes I just combined geometric and geometry, and I said geoma. I don't even know what that is. Knight c7 would have happened. So a nice little d5 there, nailing the coffin for the queen, and for that reason she came back. I brought my knight back, and again, to her credit, she was able to just play a couple of really timely defensive moves, like bishop c8, disallowing my knight any entry, but watch as I convert this position. I bring the knight in, activate my second rook, and here she tries to advance on the queen side. This was probably the most important moment of the game, is when I rerouted the knight to c3. I need the knight away from f6 so that I can get into g6. That's exactly what I do. And when I finally play knight to d5 and she takes, I don't take back. I play queen takes pawn, queen h6, she blocks the check, and now the killer move, rook g6. I never have to take back any of these pieces. The rook just has no way. It's mate in a few moves, and at this point she resigned, and Gotham got on the board. It was a pretty smooth win, and I was like, okay, nice. Time to start building my confidence. Except at this point, Alexandra won the next two games. So she was up 4-1. She just flattened me, totally pancaked me, and I was able to strike back for a game, 4-2, but she won the next two. Every single time that I was kind of getting in there, it was very clear that she was the more experienced player. She constantly had more time. She was constantly putting pressure on me, but I am going to fast forward to the last two games of the 3-minute and 1-second bonus section, because they were very tense, very exciting, and there was a lot to learn here. So this one is a Caro-Kann defense. She plays what's known as a pseudo Panov. It's when you chip away at d5, and we get this position. From the opening, we get another transformation of the pawn structure. This D and C is called the hanging pawn structure. When it's no E and B pawn for white or for black, and the other side has the E and B pawns, they're called hanging pawns in the middle of the board. The person with the hanging pawns wants to create a kingside attack and avoid the pawns getting blockaded. The person with the black pieces wants to be as solid as possible. You'll notice that despite her castling, she plays the move h4, h5 because she's thinking she's going to gain space on that side of the board. I'm kind of letting her do her thing over there, you know? And at this point, she plays the move d5, and I'm like, wait a second. d5, it's another transformation, and what happens if I take, the door opens for this, but I play queen d6. I'm going to pick up the d5 pawn. I got something going for me here. But again, you know, she brought her piece back, and then I could have taken on d5, but I didn't like that our rooks are getting in on the 7th rank if I move my queen up. So I said, all right, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to bring my rooks. I'm going to take my time, slowly win this pawn back, and right here, I was like, all right, I'm in good shape. And then she played rook e1, and I was like, oh my god, she's constantly creating counterplay. I really don't like it. She played a knight f6, but she plays queen e3. She's threatening to sack her queen. If I play queen d5, it's queen sack on e8, and then it's mate. And I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? Okay, I'm going to take with the rook. And then she brought back her bishop. She brings the bishop out of the way of the attack to immediately put it on this diagonal to hit the f7. I'm like, oh my god, this is too stressful. And right here, I spent the remainder of my time.
Levy's got to go bishop d5 and close this diagonal for the white bishop. Bishop d5 it's imperative that he does it here.
10 seconds though, Levy's again.
There's rook e7.
And obviously, as you can see from the instant replay, I played the wrong move. What I should have done here is immediately met this bishop at the door with the move bishop to d5. To be honest, I don't know why I didn't do that. It's so easy to analyze your game sometimes. You know, this bishop comes out to d3, you would think I just go, or to b3, just go bishop d5. But I went here, and she immediately pounces, and then even this move, right here, in this position, I just have to stay cool, calm, and collected, and just go g5. And then if this, just this, and I'm safe, and I'm okay. But I just totally melted down. First of all, I already thought I was losing here, so psychologically I was rattled. I played a random knight move. You saw not to lose on time. She picks up 2 pawns. Maybe even here I have a chance of making a comeback, but I lost on time. Terrible time management by me. and Alexandra goes up 7-2. At this point, I'm just thinking, all right, do your best and see what happens. So the final Blitz game. This one, another really tense and interesting fight. So she goes for d5. This is an English opening with the 4 knights, and I play the move e3. She goes d5. So far, we're following a mainline theory position, castles, and she plays knight e5. Notice that she is trying to trade off my light squared bishop because all my pawns are on dark squares. Think about that. If I got all these pawns on the dark squares, then probably my light squares are pretty weak. And in this position, I decided to play f3, and I knew that this was going to undermine the control of the center. She played c5, and here I thought, wait a second, can I do my best impression of a computer and sacrifice my knight? And now I got 2 pawns, all her pieces are back. So let me bring all my pieces to the party. She plays f6 because it's really difficult for her to move her bishop. If this, then queen f7 defended by the rook. So she goes here, rook b1, and I'm just basically trying to break in the middle, not letting her get castled and get to safety, but she plays bishop e7. She did such a good job of just understanding how to blockade my pawns. Notice how her knight and her bishop are like standing very comfortably. And I thought here maybe she's gonna bring in her knight, but she goes for a queen trade, which is a really big decision, and actually it lets me win time, and she shouldn't have done that. It's actually a moment her queen was better positioned on the board defensively, and here I found this, c5. She can take, but I have no intention of taking back. I'm going bishop a3, paralyzing her pawn, and her king doesn't have time to get into the game because I've always got rook b7. So a pawn sacrifice to open up my rook and give my bishop a purpose. You'll notice that a couple moves ago I couldn't play bishop a3, but now I can. And here I was like, all right, that's it. We're rolling. We're winning. We're going to win this game. And I took. I played d6. She goes back. And I brought in my rook. And she's attacking this pawn now. So I play rook to d1. She goes king e8. And now, let me show you what happened in the game.
Don't push d7. Just don't push d7. You can kind of wait. You can just bring the king in. You can kind of just... No!
Oh, he does play it, and he's only got 3 seconds left.
No,
3
Levy,
seconds.
no.
Oh, he's gonna lose. He's gonna...
No.
He lost on time.
Story of the match, right? Low time for Gotham, and I play the move d7. Apparently here, black is in such a state of paralysis, I can do anything. And the computer recommends the move rook b1, because black cannot go here. And my idea is to get in with the rook. If the opponent brings the king closer, then I go rook b7. If the opponent takes, then I push. I pushed the wrong pawn in my paralyzed state. I didn't even realize that this pawn can't be taken at all. And so a good game goes to waste, and Alexandra takes an 8-2 lead. This was the final 3+1 game, and I just wanted to make a good example of my bullet skills in the 1 minute plus 1 second bonus section. I know the match is a mismatch, but trust me, you don't want to miss this. The bullet was something fierce. So, well, having said that, the bullet began with her winning the first 2 games. Yeah, there was also that. But now we go to the 3rd game of the bullet section. And actually, this game is me giving her a tremendous amount of respect, and this was kind of the story of the match. She played e4, and at this point I was like, look, the French is not working, the Caro-Kann is not working, let me play the king, Peer's defense, King's Indian defense. But she was just going for the kill, man. And as much resistance as I was trying to put up, with my own counterplay on the queen side and not even letting her push her h-pawn through, she was just coming down the middle of the board. And I was trading pieces and I castled bravely. But none of it was good enough. Like, even this position where I thought I was creating some chances for myself, she just stopped me. And then in this position, how does white make progress? How does white start an attack of their very own? She was so sharp every single chance she got. She played the move g4. And here's what Hikaru had to say about that.
This is just really, really brutal. Oh, man. h4, h5. Oh, man. h5. Oh, man.
And she goes for it.
And yeah, I mean, the position is just all my pieces are on the wrong side of the board. Watch as I take. She doesn't even take back. She just pushes straight on through, destroys my entire career here, and just takes all my pieces. And I went down 11-2, but be happy that you stuck around, ladies and gentlemen, because I wouldn't have uploaded this if this was 14 minutes of her picking me up by my shirt collar and punching me in the face. Gotham began. his resurgence. Couple of games later, after she took her 11-2 lead, I apologize. After she took her 10-2 lead, actually, that win that I just showed made it 10-2. I apologize. She was up 11-3. And in the 11-3 scoreline, you would think, all right, Gotham's just dead. And to be honest, I definitely was. But I had some bright moments in this match. And if you've watched 14 minutes of this video, be happy that you did. All right, Gotham goes with B3. And I don't exactly know what this is. I couldn't tell if that was a mouse slip or a sign of some sort of disrespect. You know, she's like, this guy is so bad, I could beat him with whatever I want. But I stayed solid, and I took the center, and she played C5, and I just kind of played normal. Except here. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go normal. She castled her king. A pawn like this in front of a king side that's already castled and over there, that's called a hook. And you can target a hook to open up the position advantageously for yourself. Now, whether or not this is advantageous for me is yet to be discovered. But here I played the move F3. I had a much better move, Knight D5, threatening knight takes on E7. And if she were to take back, I can go here attacking her queen, and there's a lot of open lines, and I have but of course it's a bullet game, and I didn't see that. Instead, I try to chip away her defenses like this. And here, I found a nice way to bring all my pieces to the party and not allow her to consolidate. If you'd like to pause once again and find how this works, sometimes a pawn break is the end of the opponent, sometimes it is the targeting of the weak squares. And here I found the only way to win, my brightest moment thus far in the match, maybe except that London game, Rook H5, GH5, and ladies and gentlemen, it is not taking, because you need to anticipate what your opponents are going to do. She's going to go Queen F5, holding everything. And I realized I have Queen C2 with Queen H7 in mind. And here, she played the move Queen G4. And here's a replay of the photo finish.
Queen H7, Knight F6.
Yep.
And then checkmate in 2 or winning the queen. Nicely done by
Very
Larry.
nice.
At least this game, Alexandra is just smiling about it because it was a beautiful tactical pattern, and she appreciates that too, even if it's her defeat in this game. But
Queen G4 looks nice, but there's Knight to F6, and I noticed this, and there's a fork of the king and the queen, but if takes, the H line, the 7th rank is open, so check, and I mate. And in a position where I am definitely down a decent amount of material, Gotham wins a nice game. So we go to the next game of Bullet. And I've got the black pieces in this one. We see another Kara Khan. Very similar to something we saw earlier. Actually, kind of deja vu, but I liked my position in that other game. And I thought, you know what? I have pretty good chances. She played the move F3, which is trying to negate the power of my bishop. Yes, I can bring in my queen, but I didn't really like the fact that my queen would have to go there on her own, so instead I focused on the dark squared complex, and I played Knight F4, getting this trade. Now, in this position, what does black do? What is the only way that black can make progress? You've got to double the rooks on the C file and go after C3. That's exactly what I did. I have to, of course, not get checkmated, but she's abandoned the H-pawn, and she just completely let me take it. All right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, on which square is my queen better positioned? That square would be G5. Why? Because I've got vision here, I've got vision here, I've got vision this way, and I'm going to go bam and bam and bam, extracting the G2 pawn. She plays Rook D2, and there's a dynamite move in this position, working on the geometry, again, working on this beacon of hope for me, and it is the move Bishop takes F3. And after this, she cannot take, there is this, and the game is over. So instead, she played Rook F2, I took the rook, I took the pawn, Gotham's got a little winning streak going, 5 points. And this next game, I was very pleased with this one, because this was a very complex game. It started out with kind of a strange move order in a Sicilian defense, and I took and went back with my knight. And when she plays knight c6, I want to go c3, so I can chip away at the center, maybe put 2 pawns there. She goes bishop c5, and I play king h1. Why would I go king h1? Because I'd like to advance my f-pawn. That is my idea. I need to take some space with my f-pawn. I want to get my king off the bishop diagonal, and that's called prophylactic. Knight g3, I'm going here. We got some tension here in the center. So she plays b5, trying to develop her bishop. I play the move queen h5. I don't yet have a threat, but maybe e5 to open things up. Alexandra, again, just playing bishop to b7. Now here, I play b4, trying to kick the bishop out of the middle. The bishop slides back, and I play the move e5. This is a threat of a mate. Alexandra in this position plays the move g6, which does stop me. Now, more often than not, ladies and gentlemen, when your queen can slide forward like this, it should. More often than not. Let me show you why. Because in this position, she has to stop a certain threat. She took in the center, trying to wreck the entire position. But now, white to move and win. Let's check in with our commentators.
Knight h5, knight h5. Oh, Levy. Levy's actually coming back to life.
And there you go. There was actually a hidden idea here. Knight h5. And queen g7 is a mate threat. She cannot take because this is a mate, and she can't stop g7. So 3 straight wins for Mr. Gotham Chess. And I was feeling good. I was like, where was this Gotham the whole match? I know how to play chess. She's a better player than me, no doubt. She's got better nerves, more experience. But damn it, what was this 10-2 nonsense? And the next game that I'm going to show you, and the last game that I'm going to show you, is the best game we played of the match. It was actually the highest cap score. We both had about 96%, so it was the best game that we played. It was a very long game, and then, you know, time kind of ran out. But this one was a Caro-Kann where she played the advanced variation. I played bishop to f5, the other line is c5, knight f3, e6. She's going for the short variation. I play knight to e7, c3, and here, not a very popular maneuver, but definitely one that's very strong, knight g6. And the point is that I'd like to go knight d7 and then f6. I'm preparing a very quick break in the center. I'm trying to immediately get like an overrunning of the center with my knights and my f6 pawn and take with the queen, because then I can get my bishop out and my king. And that's exactly what I did. She goes knight g3, trying to play on the king side with the knights. I play e5. I've got to take care of my weakness in the center. She hits my queen, defended by the knight. I drop back, and the center gets a little bit clarified. But then she pops the knight out to d4. Now, I don't want her to take my bishop, so I slide it back. Now, let's see how we both make progress. She goes f4, which is the best move. Again, the only move in the position to get advantage with white. She hits my knight. My knight's got to go out to c4. She takes it. Why would she give up her bishop? Well, it opens up her rook. She understands dynamics of positions very well, and she goes knight to e6 right away. Here I come up with a nice idea. Get my bishop out of the way, danger levels, check, and so king h1, and I'm out, and I can trade. At this point, I think I'm doing pretty well, but she plays queen f3, I go h6, and she disregards completely and plays the move f5. And I was like, what? What? So I took, and I think I'm just up a pawn. And the truth is, I was, but there's still a ton of complexity here. This is hanging, this is under pressure. I played the move b5, which was the best move, but she's immediately meeting me there. Every single time I think I've got a step ahead of her, she's faster. Rook takes, knight d3. In hindsight, it was cleaner for me to play this move on its own, but I took and did this, and she defends. In this position, I played the move rook f8. The problem is rook f8 has no threat. Had I played the move rook e8, at least I can get in with my queen in the future, but she's still going to take on g5. But I played rook f8 thinking that I set up knight to f2. The problem is that after this, there is no knight to f2 check, because the queen's not there anymore. I can't fork the queen. So, knight f2, king h2, and I bring my queen. I'm trying to... Wait a minute, that's covered. Oops, Gotham, you're stupid. So she comes in, and I come back. Now, what's funny is that knight h5 there was a little bit cleaner. But she advances with her h-pawn and slips up. She realizes that I could take with the queen. So we trade. She takes my... She goes b3. She goes b3 here. I'm like, all right, I got like 3 seconds on the clock. I gotta go rook f7. I gotta go rook f8. Oh my god, let me trade. CB. She's like, wait a minute. In all endgames, there is favorable trades. Rook h7. Because I've got what's called a 3-on-2. So let me go make my pass pawn. But she's just in time to hit this pawn, forcing me to make a difficult decision. Do I sack? What do I do? And I go for this, but she's stopping me. I tried one final trick, knight b2. Oh no, my knight! But if she takes, her knight is geometrically unable to stop my pawn from promoting, but she's a damn good player. And, well, it's the iconic game of the match. I sacrifice the knight. She takes the rest of my pawns. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only drawn game of this entire match just happened. And she won the final game, and she won the match 12.5 to 6.5. But what a match. What a match. It was honestly an honor. It was a pleasure to play against Alexandra. I definitely can learn a few things. You know, I'm currently playing in this I Am Not a GM Speed Chess Championship 5+1, 3+1. And it's weird because, you know, ever since I became an international master in 2018, I haven't played a lot of chess that means something. I haven't trained that hard to become a grandmaster because, frankly, I never even thought that I would be an international master. When you're training and you're sharp, you're confident. And when I'm playing these matches, I think I can hang in there, and I did have some good positions, but man, the nerves and the tension and just freezing like a deer in the headlights, you know, it's all something that I'm experiencing and trying to overcome as a player. So listen, if you watch my content and you learn from me and you think that I'm inspiring or a good educator, we all have our flaws. You know, even I am finding that in these like really tense competitive settings, there's still things that I can overcome and learn and get better from. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. And not to, you know, leave too much of a spoiler, but there might be a sequel coming.